What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Red Seat Radio. My name is Corbin. The Red Sox didn't have that great of a game yesterday. I am recording this on the day after the first game of the Detroit series, so I'm not entirely sure how the second game went yet. Hopefully they came back and tied this series up 1-1, but you guys will know by the time that comes out. So instead of talking about the games today, which I will do tomorrow to wrap up the series, what I want to do is I want to talk about a free agent that's been the topic of many conversations within Red Sox Nation, and that's Michael Conforto. Whether or not Michael Conforto would be a good fit for the Red Sox, whether or not the Red Sox should sign him. And honestly, I'm kind of in between. This is a lot like Brock Holt for me, although Brock Holt was a more no than a yes. Michael Conforto has his upsides. He definitely has his downsides as well. So what I want to do today is I want to break down everything about Michael Conforto, what it would cost the Red Sox to get him, and whether or not he would be a benefit for this team. We're going to go through all of that today, and then I'm going to let you guys decide in the comments down below what you think of the Red Sox and Michael Conforto. But before I get into that, do me a favor, make sure you guys have hit that subscribe button if you have not already. If you're new here, we talk about Red Sox almost every single day, so if that's something you're into, you'll love this channel. And if that's not enough to get you to subscribe, we are only about 90 subscribers away from that 1,000 subscriber mark, so you can help us get there by hitting that button. Also, make sure that you guys are hitting the like button on these videos as well, as it just helps out the video and channel a ton and would mean a lot to me. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one. Let's get into it. First thing I want to do is go over what it would cost the Red Sox to get him here. The first thing we know about Michael Conforto is that he already denied a one-year $18.75 million offer from the Mets because he wanted a multi-year deal that kind of locked him into a city for a longer period of time. He also wanted a bigger dollar value attached to that. He took a gamble on himself. He got injured during this free agency and didn't entertain any offers because he didn't think he could pass a physical up until a couple of weeks ago, where the market's been pretty quiet on Michael Conforto. So the question is, obviously he didn't get the deal he wanted going into this free agency period, I'm going to say. He still has free agency options, but you're in the middle of the season, your team's kind of coming together, your book, your money is kind of coming together. There's not a ton of room on a lot of teams for Michael Conforto left. So my question is whether or not the Red Sox could get him for less than what he wanted going into free agency. Clearly, he wanted something a little bit more than a one-year $18.75 million deal, but could we get him on a 2-year $30 million deal or a 3-year $45 million deal, something along those lines? If so, that kind of changes the question, but I want your thoughts on that down below. Do you think he's still looking for a high dollar value deal, or do you think he's just willing to play for whatever team to get himself back onto that market and get what he really wants? The second portion of getting Michael Conforto here would be the loss of a draft pick. Due to draft pick compensation, which I believe is leaving in 2023, signing Michael Conforto would mean the Red Sox losing a draft pick. We've seen Chaim Bloom operate for a little bit now, and in my opinion, draft picks to Chaim Bloom are really important, whether that is in trades as valuable trade pieces or by developing homegrown talent that turns out to be really, really good. Either way, he really enjoys his draft picks, so the question is whether or not him and the Red Sox are willing to part with that draft pick to get Michael Conforto here. And I think a lot of that is going to have to do with the value that he brings to his team. So let's take a look at whether or not Michael Conforto would improve this Red Sox team in 2022. While the monetary value attached to a guy is definitely a factor in considering whether or not we should sign him to the Red Sox, at the end of the day, I think in the front office's mind, I think in the mind of most of the fans, whether or not he benefits the team is really the key issue here. And in the case of Michael Conforto, it's a pretty loaded question. I think if the Red Sox came out of the gates super hot at the plate, Trevor Story already had 2 home runs, Jackie Bradley Jr. was hitting above 200, that bottom half of the lineup was producing the way we know it can produce, then I don't think Michael Conforto is in question at all in anyone's conversations about whether or not they should bring him to the Red Sox. But that isn't the case, right? The Red Sox are starting the year real cold at the plate, besides a few key guys like Verdugo. And that begs the question of whether or not we should add another bat to try and improve or get this offense going. In the case of Michael Conforto, there's a couple of different factors I want to look at. The first is his defensive metrics, because on the field, Michael Conforto is a below average defender, at least statistically. He is a below average defender in defensive run saves, and he's negative in runs above average, which are both pretty decent metrics when you're looking at a guy on the field, whether or not him being out there saves runs, and whether or not the combined between offense and defense of him being on the field gives you positive runs or negative runs. And he's negative in both, making him a below average defender, which we know Jackie Bradley is well above. So like I said, in my opinion, if the Red Sox were on fire, this wouldn't be a question. We know he's not a great fielder. He's a pretty good hitter. He has a career OPS of 124, with the average around the league being 100. He's an above average hitter, which is great. He hits for power. He's hit 132 home runs over his career, with a career batting average of 255 and an OPS of 824, meaning he's a very good hitter and he can get on base. And that, again, something that the Red Sox kind of need right now. But the question becomes whether or not the Red Sox are looking to take away from that defensive side of the ball. And this is another thing that's kind of confused me about these conversations. It's kind of like people forget that we had a terrible defense last year. Terrible is kind of the wrong word, but it really wasn't a great defense all year. There were a lot of kind of ridiculous errors or overthrows from the outfield that ended up costing us games in the long run. And this year already, you can tell that this defense is much better. We add Trevor Story in the middle of that infield to make Xander Bogaerts look better, for one. And for two, he's a naturally good defender himself, so that middle of the infield definitely got better. Rafael Devers is looking fantastic over there at third base. And now in the outfield, you've got Verdugo, who finally found a stationary home. He's not being bounced between right field and left field, depending on where they're playing. And he's already proving that he deserves to be in left field. Kike finally found a spot as well. He'd been bounced around for years, and finally he's a full-time center fielder. And again, you can kind of see that when a guy is in a position that he knows he's going to be playing all year, he's more natural, he's more confident. And obviously Jackie Bradley in right field is fantastic. We know what he can defensively do. So I don't really understand taking away from that defense again and having a less than stellar defender in left field to add to our offense, which is already one of the best in the league. So let me know what your thoughts are down below. Do you prioritize offense or defense at this point in the year? Do you think that the Red Sox should go after Michael Conforto? Do you think they should avoid Michael Conforto? What are your thoughts on Conforto down below? What are your thoughts on this kind of conversation in general? Let me know all your thoughts on this down below. As always, if you've made it to the end of this video, do me a favor, make sure you've hit that subscribe button if you've not already. Again, we are only about 90 subscribers away from that 1,000 mark, so let's see if we can hit that by the end of April. And as always, make sure you hit that like button as well. Again, it helps out the video a ton and would mean a lot to me. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one, and I will see you in the next one.